Hello, this is Samadan. Now I have another cinematic analysis for you. So I did this a few weeks ago on the War Within cinematic that came out. So I thought I'd go back and look at one of the other Blizzard cinematics. There are many, many cinematics, but this is the Dragonflight Announce cinematic. So we've gone back in time just a little bit to the beginning of this expansion we've got at the moment. And I thought I'd go through the same sort of format as I did before. So I'm going to go through the whole sequence, pointing out things that I find personally really amazing, because as a CG supervisor in the film industry, this is the kind of stuff that's kind of bread and butter for me, and I wanted to point out sort of all the technical, amazing things that the Blizzard art team do, and also the storytelling, the music, everything that comes into this to make it such an amazing cinematic. So obviously, I wouldn't recommend watching it this way. This isn't a react video. I'm not going to play through the whole thing. I'm just going to go through it scene by scene from the beginning. I highly recommend going and watching the original. I'll put a link to that below. Watch that first, get a feel for it yourself if you haven't already. But I'm going to go through and just give you my take on it as a CG soup. So let's go back to the beginning of this. Now I'm going to ignore the fact that they actually, in this particular one, I don't know why, but decided to spoiler it with a few scenes beforehand, which kind of ruined the storytelling a little bit when you look at it first time on YouTube. But that aside, let's go to the beginning proper. Your typical, Blizzard fade up, got the logo nice and shiny and gold, kind of hinting at the textures and things that we're going to be looking at, because we got that straight away, this very shiny shot. In fact, let's go back to the beginning. So what do we see here? There's not a lot beginning. We just see a pulsing light, establishing wise. So 10,000 years ago. There's no real clues here as to what we're looking at. It's literally just a flickering pulsing light. Very clean, simple golden geometry. There's not much given away here. Obviously you can see the there we go. See the few little logos and things around here, all these etched in, simple clean geometry. There's not a huge amount. There's a few nice little details you've got here, like the little chinks in the slightly less than perfect edges, but it's all completely obscured by this great big flickering light with the glow that's completely washing everything else out. Over on this side we've got similar kind of details. I mean, this looks very sort of like roughly sort of, I would almost say that was a displacement map looking at that, but it might actually be in the geometry itself. It just has the nature of something kind of rough. Although you can see here, this edge is interesting. It's not just your clean polygon line there with a bevel. It's rounded. You've got some extra bits coming out of it here, which is very subtle. You don't really sort of spot that kind of thing, but it's there nonetheless. Just to give you a slight imperfection in the perfection, as you were. But there's a lot in just one very sort of a short scene that you don't really see a lot. But here we go. Here's the big establishing shot. The mists reveal this huge environment that is absolutely amazing when you look at the tiny details. So what have we got? Okay, so we've got the cloud volume that is just revealing things there. That could easily be a completely separate layer, all of this done in comp or something like that. But what you have got, which is really nice, is all this low hanging mist and things that is being lit by the sun, and then in shadow occluded by the mountain. All this stuff looks really, really nice. It kind of beds the whole thing in as this, tropical, misty, shrouded island. And then obviously we've got a whole load of trees on this. You're probably looking at some sort of height field terrain generation here going on with the rock textures. And then these are probably a collection of speed tree assets with a few sort of odd ones like these slightly more sort of orangey or peachy coloured ones here. Revealing it. And then we've got the water. Now this probably, and this is quite a wide shot, so I would think it unlikely at this distance you'd be doing a proper fluid sim for all of these waves and things. I would almost think that these are separate elements that are comped in on top. Are we seeing any of the shoreline? No, you're not. So none of the actual you're too far away. You can't see any details of anything splashing up against rocks or the water receding or breaking against here. That's all completely static. In fact, even this lot is pretty static. So that could be done with textures rather than a full-on fluid sim, because this is huge in terms of scale of an ocean. Going down to the tiny detail of this would be just way too much work. Other things we've got going on here, there's a little bit of a waterfall going on down there. You could probably get away with a 2D element for that because you're not seeing its source, which is quite handy. The trees are covering up all of those. Lighting wise, looks really nice. It's kind of, where's our light? Our sun's coming from, sun's up here, casting down. Looking at where all the highlights are. We're obscuring, all this is in shadow. This has just been caught by a little bit of light. Lots of layers of atmosphere, which really give this sense. I mean, I've not even talked about this over in the distance, which obviously we're getting some. Now, whether that's just like a 2D matte painting of the clouds, I'm not seeing any movement or anything, but it's probably, you've got the flashes of lightning in there. Yeah, so there's not a lot of movement there in terms of things. That's probably just either a separate element that's rendered separately, and then you've got you'll have a light source there which is being reflected here in the actual water itself, which is probably one large plane, big ocean shader all across all of this, just giving you that all that detail. So really nice establishing shot. Really gives you a sense of scale, a sense of, that's quite nice actually, just looking at the anisotropic reflections you've got going on here, just pinging out from the bright light here down onto there, and then it's basically with anisotropic reflections, it's basically that kind of brush. You've got that brushed metal in stretches, the way the reflections are being bounced from the light. That's probably a really poor way of describing it, but it's basically, you've got almost full reflection here, which falls off very quickly, and you're not seeing it here, and which is what you're getting here, which is really nice. All this kind of like, it basically sells the idea of it being gold and metal. So you've got all that etched into the stonework here, and it's all on this big piece of geometry which we saw earlier. So really nice environment seeing this. I'd say top notch on this for an establishing shot. So moving on, let's have a look. What else have we got? So it doesn't tell us much, just that it's an exotic scene. Right, so again, few details. We're seeing our first sign of an actual character in this. This is quite an interesting shot because you've got the voiceover, but you've got no actual dialogue in this. This whole sequence is dialogue free. It's all done with characterization, which is no easy feat, and we'll see that later. As that goes through. Okay, so he's moving. He occludes the sun. We see him in more detail. So we don't see a lot there, but what you do notice, this is in the animation, you get your first sense of these stone creatures. The animation isn't fluid. There's no real moving holds. There's no real sort of there's the usual standard animation stuff. It's almost linear in its interpolation from one key to the next, but within that interpolation, there's almost steps, almost like it's catching itself, because that's the kind of the gratiness of this stone, that they are kind of stone but not stone. So that little bounce you've got of his chin as he goes down, there's no real deformation in that whole beard. It literally is one solid mass, and he almost has to move his head up. So it's really nice subtle bits of animation. Obviously it's still flexing and stretching as a sort of a skinned character would. You can see this all down here at the pinch point under the arm, how that's stretching out as he moves his chest around and his arm rotates back. And then he's now looking at this device. So we're seeing a lot of really nice stone textures. The bump map on here, probably a normal map, just giving it catching the light a little bit more. Possibly displacement, but you may not need it. It depends really of the level of detail needed. Really nice sculpted character though. Really like sort of that chiseled stone look. Obviously probably sculpted in ZBrush and then either Mari or Substance texturing. Whether I'd gone procedural for some of this texturing, possibly. You got some really nice rock divots and little low frequency detail going on there, which is really nice, and then tie that in with all this tarnished gold texture with little bits here, and that's echoed here in the pillars and everything. So it's all made of the same material, really. And then this whole turquoise colour gem or whatever that is, and then obviously they've got their nice glowing eyes, giving them a little bit up. You can see, yeah, there's a little bit of glow just coming out of that. Really nice lighting, really strong sunlight coming down. This is a nice bright sunny day. And then chink, chink, chink. So it's all got that same clunky linear motion, but with little steps in between it. What else have we got? Looking at this, what makes this? Yeah, so we've got the same kind of details on the edges, the bevels here. Just saw it before the motion blur kicked in. So you've got almost perfect, and then little chinks and things in the edges, a little bit of chips away. So it's clean, it's really well engineered, but there are imperfections in it. It's like really, really old. This is all really nice details. Actually, yeah, that's all actually probably modelled in, sculpted in, and then retopologized with maybe a displacement map or something, but you're getting some good cutouts there. A little bit of... Now, if that's intentional or not, I'm not sure. The specular highlights are being broken up a little bit there. That could be in the geometry itself, or it could be in a texture if it's being used as a displacement map. There could be some breakup in there as well. Difficult to tell. That's quite nice actually. All these swirly little extra details here and burnishings. That's quite nice. Almost like it's been buffed. It's buffed. And this gem, really nice. How much sort of movement have we got inside that? A little bit of internal refractions going on there. But really, really lovely work. And colours wise, this whole turquoise blue, bright sunshine, the stone and the gold. It's a really nice colour palette with this. That echoed with that. You've got the reflection of this in here. Is it giving off a little bit of light? It's difficult to tell. You've got a little bit of light extra on here, but it's not being cast out very far. So it's not that much of a feature really. It's just really... Yeah, a little bit of refraction and sort of almost like an amber. That's quite decent. That's quite difficult to do. That kind of work. How would I approach that? Because you've got depth in there. There's some hard edge lines in there. Just seeing how that highlight is moving on the inside. Almost looks like it could be geometry inside. So say you've got this this outer coating, and then inside that is probably some sort of fractured geometry that is then being refracted inside that in the shader and catching the light. Almost like you've got a Veroni shatter or something like that. You've broken it all apart and you kind of cleaved off this part of it. Could be all shader as well. It's difficult to tell. It looks really nice. So right, we've got a big volume cloud, not a huge amount of detail in that, but it doesn't really have to. It's mainly in the lighting here. So it doesn't really matter that this is soft. The idea is, you know, the clouds are coming in. We're going from our bright blue sky into the more overcast darkness, and our gem thing is splitting apart. So that's quite interesting. Two halves coming apart with a little bit. There's not a huge amount of detail you're seeing in there. Obviously, we've got these nice particle streamers going down here. Really nice variation in the tones between this, just to give it a bit of interest. That's all really. And just catching the tip of the light here as it goes. Now here we've got a nice big establishing shot. Again, showing different area of the Dragon Isles. So here we have mainly the main difference there, knowing the things that sells this as geometry itself rather than like a matte painting is the way the lighting changes from all these highlights, all these specular highlights you got here disappearing. It's not just a case of fading it and making it darker. There's not like a big line here that's moving across the scene and just making it all darker. It's just taking the highlights out. Now you probably could do that with the AOVs and just take the specular down. I've got a feeling that might have been lit and rendered as a sequence with a big occlusion going across the lighting. So you just have a great big sort of almost a card that that is a light blocker that moves across the scene. But really nice establishing shot. Well, it's not really establishing up, but a really nice setting the scene of another location. Lots of work going on in here in terms of the rock details, scattering of trees. Love the hero tree asset they got on the top here and scattered over to these ones. It's almost like they've taken done a scatter on this based on the normal angles, so that basically anything that is, let's say you've got the rock face from a side view like this, anything that is facing upwards like that gets a distribution of tree points to scatter across any of those, and then there'll be a collection of different tree assets that you can then scatter at each of those points. But if the angle's too steep and it's facing away from the y-axis, then you won't see that. That would be my guess, and then probably with a few hero ones thrown in here like this one with some bespoke placement. This is looking, there's lovely atmosphere and mist coming along here. Are we see, there is waterfalls movements there. Not a huge amount, so that could just be a 2D element rather than properly simmed. But everything that just sells this as an epic shot, you don't really need long. Okay, going to another shot. Wow, so much goes on in this. It's amazing. Some really nice CG touches. So here we've got a proper fluid sim going on for the ocean. Now it's quite a handy angle. It's all contained within this box with front on to the camera. So this one wave coming over. Yeah, you've got complete interaction with the rocks here, so that'll be geometry that the fluid sim is interacting with, causing the spray and the white water on top of that. Yeah, and then it's difficult to tell if there's a transition because we're not getting obviously anything, any waves crashing from anything beyond this line here. So that could be a completely separate sim. You know, I have that as a general water with a little bit of the wavy stuff on it there. And this stuff near to the shore could be the actual simmed area where you do the actual wave. It's only just one real wave that we see, because then Hansley, we cut away from that and we just see this next one, which just gives us a bit of white foam around here, which is probably just either hand-placed textures or a little bit of noise around certain places. It's moving a little bit with the foam here. I wouldn't have thought a full sim would be needed for that. But it sells the scene because the main thing here is your lighting. You know, your core light here coming through all your volumes here of mist and everything like that, giving this really nice atmospheric scene. This is just, you know, lovely frame shot. He's right in the middle, nice glow going around where he's standing. The details on these rocks is really nice. Some lovely sculpted detail here, like particularly this one with the hard edges, then comes down, really sort of magma or volcanic like. Really love those sort of details. Yeah, none of the nearer bits of water is splashing or anything like that. So this is all static, so that will just be like a water shader on those. Even from our own eyes. So then, okay, so another establishing shot. I keep saying establishing shot, but it's really just another location. Big, wide. A little bit of cloud movement. So potentially modelled and lit, I would imagine. Sort of height fields creating this. Obviously this is a location, whether it was intended to be used again. Love the subsurface going on in these spikes. You can see how the light's just leaking through all these points here. Works really nicely to sell that crystal feel. Are the trees moving? Let's have a look. No, they're all static. I mean, it kind of sells it for the shot anyway. It's just so much more of a pain having animated trees because you've got to cache the entire thing out. And these are really obviously high poly trees. I suspect speed tree assets. That's the go-to place for all this kind of stuff. But lovely sort of zigzaggies leading the eye into the focal point here. And then there you go. The stepping of the linear motion works really nicely as he tips his head down. It's kind of like, it's linear, but it has pauses as it goes down. Then you must light the beacon of Tearhold. Lest the path home. There we go, the same sort of animation. Tick, tink, tink. Glowing eyes. Closing. There we go. What an amazing environment showcase. So here we have the same shot without the wave. So conveniently this part of the ground here cuts off any ocean sim you might have there. So you can literally just do a very simple ocean ripple with these as probably textures. So cheaper to do that way, definitely. And then switch. I love that switch going to the worn out. Let's just A/B between the two of them. Where have we got it? There we go. So detail changes here. So we're all chiseled, really refined edges here, and everything's softened. We've retracted back everything on the beard. The ears have chipped away, all the extremities have gone. I mean, if you're going to be standing by the sea, this is where you're going to get your most erosion, definitely. all of this lovely texture work here of the moss and things. Kind of potentially missed a trick where you could have put some more. If you look at lichen and things like that in detail, you could have had some really sort of much bigger clumps of moss or things like that on it. But this is more textural than it is actual geometry on top of there. All this moss growing in and in the crevice here. Okay, so you've got to think, okay, where's it going to rain? Where's the moisture going to collect? Where's the sun going to go? And that's where you get the moss growing. This crack is really nicely chiseled in. Lovely bit of geometry there. Probably a displacement map, I would say. Although there may be some, because we get some animated stuff going up later on. So technique-wise, I'm not sure exactly how they might do that. I'd probably do a displacement map on that. So eyes-wise, he's lost his golden band a little bit. But really nice softening of everything here. It's literally just gone. The biggest change really is his beard, it seems, just completely rounded and softened out. So nice transition there. I would say good texture work, definitely, on that. And we've got the mist coming around, and then obviously now we've got trembles and things. He awakes, and there we go. We can see the ocean again with all the bioluminescent bloom going on here. That's really nice. There's some good layers going on there. So obviously anything that's in contact with the edges is pinging really bright. But there's layers beneath that. The stuff that's going on under the water. I'm almost thinking like there might be several planes layered on top of each other with some just underneath the surface that are a noise map that are causing the bioluminescence that's coming through the subsurface shader. Or it could be an animated texture within the subsurface layers themselves. That could have the same effect. But it's really nice just selling that idea of bioluminescence, and obviously the clouds have got a little chink of light in them here. There's life is coming through. So now this is actually a really nice shot because we're seeing, yeah, both of these shots. So when I talked before about these shots being quite easy from a fluid sim point of view because you're straight onto the camera and everything's contained within a box quite neatly, even down to the shore level. When you look at this shot and you pull focus to look at all this detail, all this foam, then I'm thinking this is all one sim, probably the background sim less detailed, because handily you've got the rock there acting as a mask so you don't see anything beyond there. And this one transitions all the way over, so you've got a much larger area to work your sim on. I'm looking at the water here. I'm not looking at any of the details and stuff in here that's telling the story that, you know, some of these are destroyed. I mean, there's lovely sculpting work and everything. But as a CG person, I'm looking at the expensive stuff. The stuff that's going to cost you a lot of man hours, and that ocean, I could see a lot of time being spent on the sim there. I mean, obviously this is shallow depth of field, so you can probably get away with this whole section being less detailed. But it ties in nicely with everything else. I guess you have the bioluminescence, you're not really looking at anything else there. But really nicely lit as well. We've got a soft light coming down from the top, and the bioluminescence is kind of catching the bounce light off of the rocks here. You've got a nice little highlights coming off here, so it could be that they are even the whatever's causing this bioluminescence is actually emitting light. So that's probably full on Wouldn't have said like a mesh light emitting it there, but it's probably just the glow coming from the intensity of the texture, the color. If you boost the emission values of the texture so high, it will, depending on the renderer you use, it will um, emit light itself. This is you picking up there. So, okay, now we're seeing some details here. Volcano, some orange colors, very grey and with these bright orange volcanic bits coming out, looking up to the end. Again, lovely, lovely foam Sims stuff going on in the background there. Okay, so we've got some flowers opening. This is incredibly convenient in that you don't see the base of the flower. So framing wise, you could just do that as a completely separate hero asset, and you're not having to render anything else in the background. And then you replicated that with the same thing here, but that could be a much less detailed version of this same asset. You've got some nice bits of lava coming up here. Again, conveniently hidden by the rock here, so the lighting's selling it. You got the lighting underneath, selling it the lava underneath, but this could just be a 2D asset for all purposes, just of a pre-rendered lava spew asset, and doing the same here. Is this lava itself moving? It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's more just animating its intensity. So, I mean, lovely rock sculpting here. Again, great details here. All of this kind of details, you know, whoever's doing the rock sculpting, top job. Lots of good studies to be had with the rocks. It's an environment artist's dream come true. Oh, we have got some grass scatter along here as well. I hadn't spotted that earlier, so life coming back. This mist quite nicely hides the fact that this is probably one geometry plane here with all the assets in it, and then a separate asset or possibly even matte painting for the back. So let's make sure we play forward. His walk cycle's really nice. It's kind of sedate. It's got a real heaviness to it, using his stick as well. Love the light coming out, spilling out of this, framing wise. Just really nice, warm glow highlight against all this grey and everything like that. It's kind of like inviting entrance. Nice pull of focus to go from what he's looking at to what he's focusing on. Obviously, making note of all the other ones that didn't make it. He's quite fluid and smooth in his movement. Not completely stilted. There's a smoothness there, bit of camera rumble. Now this lava sim is all in specific places, so quite nicely you don't see the emission point of this. So you can contain this all in one small area, so you don't have to have the whole thing. You could just do a separate sim for that and then put it into place. You don't have to have, it's not like flowing all the way down here and things like that, which is more geometry for things to interact with. So really clever and judicious use of assets, I would say. Same with this one. You can see it's a really nice lava sim. Where's it originating from? It's actually coming through the cracks. That's interesting. Yeah, I can't quite see exactly where it's coming from. But it does seem to be just intersecting with the geometry and coming out through where the cracks might be. And then you've got this is a nice touch, this droopy bit down there. I can't see it because of my colour. Let's go green. Down here. That's a really nice touch. Obviously this underlighting, really nice with the mist and everything. Catching the light and all these lovely golden highlights with the glow on it. Yeah, that was a nice piece of lava behind. Nice clump that's landing there. What actually happens to that? It just like almost like it goes through the floor. But I think it just cools down really quickly. Kind of loses its density. And it just sticks to the floor. And lovely big sweeping camera. Nice god rays coming down here. Just telling us that, you know, the light's over here. And it's all misty, which is why you've got the god rays anyway. But on top of that, you've got all the lava spewing up. And that really contrasts with this grey and gold motif. Doing quite a lot with just animating the lights in intensity. Like there's an orange light off screen left here that's animated up and down, and there's obviously the main sunlight isn't animated. But there you go, there's a nice glow of orange that then fades away. Just helps sort of like helps highlight the sort of it's like a rim light, but it just helps give you a bit of shape to the characters by a bit of extra colour. So you've got like the cool side here and the warm side here. So really nice sort of lighting. A bit like I've got myself on the camera. I've got my warm light from one side and the cooler light from another. It's kind of like typical cinematography lighting. A good lava transition wipe. Okay, so the story continues. He's making a decision. This is really nicely animated in terms of, okay, a glance to the left, a look with the eyes, a furrow of the brow, closing the eyes, coming to a decision, deciding, and then going on to the next thing. It's great. It's a great piece of storytelling with literally just a few sort of key moments of posing. Again, we get to see all his lovely details that are sculpted. Now here's our first animated crack. This is kind of him disappearing. Now this looks... So that's his base texture on his hand. Now if you look closely, you can see there's a crack here, almost like a fracture line, that we then move into. It's almost like it's drawn in, I would say, with, I would say, a few... Yeah, then we draw that second line in, emit some smoke from a couple of key areas. Got quite a... That highlight bevel there just gives you a sense of depth to it, so it's not just completely black on there, it gives you a sense that it has got some depth to it. Then his hand snaps there, kind of goes around the moss bits. That piece of moss there, it kind of tries to go around it, but it just gets overridden. It just disappears. I'm trying to see if I can see anything in the edges catching the highlight. It almost looks like you are. This could be an animated displacement map. And with a few key little chinks that just sell the idea that this is... Because this is just a thin polygonal, you know, most meshes are just... They don't really have that depth to them. So when you're cutting holes into things like this, you need to sort of carve it out. It's not an easy thing to sell, but with a few key ideas, that works really nicely. The same here with a little puff of smoke there. Right, okay, what have we got here? This is probably more likely a destruction sim, a bit of a Veroni shatter perhaps. So it will be pre-broken up into his sections, and then the animation just pulls those pieces down. And those parts come out along with their bits of smoke. Because it all neatly comes back together. But that's likely to have been pre-shattered. And then that's really nice. Look at those fingers and those cracks coming through here. Just selling the idea that this is, this is risky, this is dangerous. This hero shot of his hand. So we've got, what have we got breaking first? His little finger. Now that has real detail in it there. So I would wonder whether that's more of an animated going along. So you could possibly animate the depth of that. That one almost looks like it's fading in to its full depth. So it's not cracking apart. So that tells me it's probably more like a texture map that is being animated fading in rather than actually pulling the geometry apart. Though that said, it almost does look, it could be just the motion though. It does look like this whole section moves that way, separate to this section. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is more to this than I realise. But it's lovely work. Really lovely work. Just the timing of the cracks. Little finger. The three fingers. And then the extra cracks on top. Yeah, this one definitely fades in. This one as well. So really, really nice. I mean, obviously this is a hero shot, so you want to sell that idea, and you want to be able to do it as easily as possible. But that's lovely work. Tricky animation to do and sell the idea of getting your leg up onto a shelf. It's just not easy to do. Nice lighting here, coming from this main arc that's coming across. That looks like, not sure how, obviously some particle sims with some noise on them, perhaps. Maybe not emitting light in themselves because the light doesn't change a huge amount. It's probably just one large point light source behind the camera pointing straight at his face. Lovely flowy particle effects now. All this stuff going on around here, swirling around, really nice. Here comes another crack. Yeah, so this is like a lovely hero crack because you can see this section of the arm seems to move out this way, which makes me consider this might be actual geometry or a combination of geometry and textures, because that whole section just lifts up. So how could you do that? It could be pre-shattered already, and then that's a separate chunk that is just literally being animated on top of the skin. Maybe. And the little puffs of smoke coming out of that one. And then there we go. Look, that's great, because then, okay, you go from here to the just off to the edge here. Let's have a look. So this rock appears from inside. So it pops out with this strain here. That pops out to that. So it could be that one. Where's that come from? It disappears again. Which bits are falling down? So does one come out? Is it flying? Because we've got a shadow here. Oh, it's just a separate piece. Could probably just animate that into place and then just run a sim and let gravity do its thing as that flows down. Nice big lens flare, motion blur, lovely blue sky now, so it's worked. You've got all the hints of the other dragon aspects in the clouds. Lovely bit of atmosphere going on around the back here. All out of focus, of course. Lovely little vegetation scatters going on. There's a lot of work in each of these shots. Even though you're focusing just mainly on him, everything has its place. So this is all still now. He accepts his fate, closes his eyes. Whoosh. Okay, dragon shot, hero shot. Here we go. Look at the details on this. Absolutely beautiful. You don't see it for long. You've literally got a frame or two to just appreciate, you know, the sculpting detail into this face. And off she goes. Is there much going on in terms of the skin? This is really nice in terms of the twisting motion. And you've got the creases coming up around here on the leg. That may be sculpted in. But the great thing about these dragon shots is they're quite, for the most part, far distant. So it's all really looking at just the wing motion, the broad flappy stuff. Except for there. My friend smiles. Appreciates what's happened. But you got some. This is really nice. Not only have you got all the sculpted details on him, but these scales and everything. There's almost like overlapping scales here. That's really deeply cut in on the hand. That's really nice. And this kind of sense of the texture on that it's chitinous, is really nice. I mean, I haven't even talked about the music yet. The orchestration of this is beautiful. Just the triumphant roar. And the beats here, absolutely amazing. So we're not seeing a huge amount of close-up details. These are largely just mainly motion blur and shapes. So you're just really seeing wings. That's the main thing. Okay, lovely. Big fluid sim going along here. So this is nicely self-contained. So you've got your simple geometry here, your tunnel here. So it's pretty much a case of pop your emitter in there, set it off, and it goes off in this direction. Crank up the particle density and the detail, add a load of mist spray and everything. But it makes for a lovely shot. And that's not even counting all the lovely scattered trees and assets. And really nice subsurface scattering going on in the leaves there with the lighting. A really well lit shot this. So many details that you don't see, but it's just you sense them. And then they're gone. And here we go, another loads of dragons. That's fine, they're flying, you know, they can be in their own separate space and render them separately. Loads of forest here. Again, you're not seeing any waves crashing, but nice VDB atmosphere, clouds going on, and taking our haze off into the distance. All this stuff going in the bottom works really well. Lots of motion blur. Background clouds are lovely. But now it's like swooping camera movements, so you're not seeing a huge amount. This lovely water sim going here, another one here, another one here. So these can all be separate, which is quite handy. You don't see the origin, you don't see the end. It's literally just emitter, drop, and just light it and make it all look good. And then that's really nice. So he's gone through the water and is spraying it all up. You don't really need to see, you've got quite a lot of particles going on there. But it's all motion blurred, so you don't have to worry too much. From there to cut to the that's the top of the bridge. So again, from there we're using the edge of the bridge to cut, and then we're going straight through. Can't see any details here. But you get to this point and you can literally just select the whole surface of the wings and go, okay, emit particles from there. Scatter them across the whole surface and they'll just ping off like that and inherit the motion of the wings. But it's a lovely little highlight as to how much joy she's having just flying around. I mean, look at that. The twisting motion and everything here. Really, really lovely silhouette. And then that final selling point is having the particles just sort of scatter around once the camera moves around. Loads of stuff going on here. You've got your atmosphere, you've got your waterfalls, you've got loads and loads of dragons doing their flap cycles and things. Obviously, you animate one dragon, you change the hue, you shift it around, you change the cycle a little bit and you move it around. So that's not particularly difficult. It's just amount of rendering time, really, more than anything else. Lovely, good shot of the seat of the aspects here. We've got waterfalls coming down here. You do see the origin point of that one. Got water just starting to come down here. You can see water coming down here and water coming down here, but I don't see much in the actual rivulets themselves, in the channels themselves. More water coming down there. That's actually hitting the ground on that one. But, the detail and the lighting in this is really, really nice. So here we've got a lot of dynamic skin stuff going on with the raw. It's not just the main animation, it's all the secondary motion, the shake of the head and the secondary wobbles that you've got going here of the chin fins. It's just lovely. It's really well lit, it's really well modelled and really well animated. There's your three things there basically. It makes it such a lovely cinematic. I mean, then there's the little details. You've got the veins, you've got the subsurface going on here in the wings, the little details here, the details of the sculpt inside the mouth. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And what an epic ending shot with Stony Tony just looking off into the distance proudly, and Alexstrasza roaring her head off. It's a lovely, lovely cinematic, and well worthy of setting the tone. Music on point, logo on point, little glow across the end, animate the other stuff, done. Mic drop, walk away. Another fantastic one by Blizzard. They smash this stuff. It's really, really well executed. You can see some things where they've had technical things that they've had to overcome. I don't know how much of this gets decided on early on in the storyboard stage, because there are certain shots I'd be going, could we just turn the camera this way and then we don't have to render all of this stuff? Whether they think about that at the beginning or whether it's just kind of like solve the problems as they come along, I'm not sure. But really, really nice job. Thank you, Blizzard, for making all these cinematics. They are, as a VFX artist, they're a joy to watch and a real inspiration. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm planning on doing more of these and going backwards in time and going through all the other cinematics. Obviously, I've skipped out the launch trailer that came with Dragonflight, so I might go jump onto that one next. And then look at the other classics like Wrath of the Lich King and all the other ones, the BFA ones particularly, I'm looking forward to covering. So that's me done for now. Until next time, enjoy your journey wherever you are, and I'll see you very soon.